The rain-slicked trail gave way beneath my boots like a betrayal I couldn't outrun. And that's when I heard the crack of thunder. Not in the sky but in my chest. As if my heart had finally splintered under the weight of secrets I'd buried deeper than these ancient roots. I stumbled forward, gasping. The note from Noah crumpled in my fist like a death sentence. "I can't do this anymore. You're too much like him." And just as the first fat drops hit my face, blurring the line between storm and tears, a voice cut through the downpour. Steady, unfamiliar, alive. "Hey man, you okay? That hill's a beast even without the waterworks." I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, tasting salt and mud, and looked up to see him. Broad-shouldered, drenched flannel clinging to his frame like it was painted on, a backpack slung low and a grin that shouldn't have existed in this mess. He was maybe my age, early 20s, with dark curls plastered to his forehead and eyes the color of the evergreens we'd just crested, deep, unyielding green that pinned me in place. I didn't know it then, but that stranger on the trail in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee was about to unravel everything I thought I knew about running away. Loving hard and forgiving the unforgivable. "My name's Jordan Hale, and up until that soggy October afternoon, I'd been your classic overachieving college senior at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, pre-law major, debate team captain, the guy who volunteered at the campus LGBTQ+ center because it made me feel like I was fixing the world one awkward ally workshop at a time. But beneath the polished resume and the easy smiles for professors, I was a mess of contradictions. Gay in a family that pretended it was progressive, but whispered about lifestyle choices at Thanksgiving. Out to my friends but only half out to myself because loving someone meant risking the kind of pain that hollowed you out. Noah had been my anchor for 2 years, tall, blonde, with that effortless southern charm that made Knoxville girls swoon and guys like me believe in forever. We met freshman year at a bonfire party on the edge of campus, him strumming an acoustic guitar under the stars, me nursing a beer and pretending I wasn't staring. Our first kiss tasted like cheap whiskey and possibility, and for a while it was enough. We built a life in stolen moments. Late-night drives along the Tennessee River, where the water shimmered like liquid silver under the moon. Whispered promises in my cramped dorm room, bodies tangled but hearts even more so. He called me his rock, said I grounded him when his family's expectations, old money, old rules, threatened to drag him under. But cracks form in even the sturdiest stone. Last spring during finals week I found the text. Not mine, his. To some guy from Nashville, a study buddy who'd been more than that. "Miss your edge," one read. "Jordan's too safe." I confronted him in the quad, voice shaking as leaves swirled around us like accusations. He swore it was nothing, a lapse, the stress. I believed him because I had to, because walking away meant admitting I'd been fooling myself all along. We patched it with therapy sessions at the campus counseling center, where a soft-spoken advisor named Ms. Rivera taught us about boundaries and forgiveness. "Love isn't a ledger," she'd say, her voice like warm chamomile. "It's a bridge you rebuild plank by plank." By senior year I thought we'd made it. Graduation loomed like a beacon, law school applications submitted. A summer internship lined up in Chattanooga. Noah even talked rings, casual-like, over pancakes at Mel's Diner. "One day, Jay, we'll make it official. You and me against the world." I let myself dream it. Let the warmth spread through me like sunlight on the porch swing back home in Maryville, where Mom still hung my childhood drawings on the fridge. Then came the betrayal that shattered it all. It was 2 weeks before homecoming, and I'd planned the perfect surprise. Tickets to a Vols game, a picnic under the Neyland Stadium lights. I came back to our off-campus apartment early, arms full of subs from Jersey Mike's, whistling some country tune on the radio. The door was ajar and inside, the air hung heavy with the scent of sweat and regret. Noah on our bed, the one we'd picked out together at IKEA in Atlanta, with him. The Nashville guy, face buried in Noah's neck, moans echoing off the walls like gunfire. I dropped the bag, the thud louder than any scream I could muster. They froze, eyes wide, and Noah's face crumpled. Not with shame but something worse, relief. "Jordan, wait," he started, scrambling for his jeans. But I was already bolting, keys jangling in my pocket like chains. I drove aimlessly through Knoxville's winding streets, past the neon glow of Market Square. The laughter spilling from bars where couples linked arms without a care. My phone buzzed, texts, calls, but I silenced it, the silence roaring louder than any storm. By midnight I was packing a bag. Not for good, just space. Mom's place was too close, too judgmental. Friends would ask questions I couldn't answer. So I grabbed my hiking boots, the ones Dad gave me before he passed, and headed for the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, 2 hours east, where the trails twisted like veins through the Earth's green heart. I'd hiked there as a kid, Dad pointing out black bears in the distance, Mom packing PB&Js with the crusts cut off. It was my reset button, the place where worries dissolved into the rhythm of footfalls and the whisper of wind through hickory leaves. The forecast called for rain, but I didn't care. I paid the entrance fee at Sugarland's Visitor Center, the ranger's drawl warning me about flash floods. Stay on the marked path, son. Mountains got a mind of their own. I nodded, shouldering my pack, water, energy bars, a battered copy of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass for company. The Alum Cave Trail to Mount LeConte was ambitious, 11 miles round trip, but I needed the burn, the ache to drown out the one in my soul. That's how I ended up there, halfway up when the sky cracked open. The trail was a ribbon of red mud, roots snaking like traps, and I pushed harder, lungs burning, mind replaying the scene in loops. Too safe. Too much like him. What did that even mean? Like Dad, who loved quietly, steadily, until cancer stole him when I was 16? Or like the version of me Noah once promised to cherish? The voice pulled me back. Hey man, you okay? That hill's a beast even without the waterworks. He was crouched a few yards ahead, tying his laces, rain sheeting off his hood. Up close he was even more striking. Freckles dusting his nose like cinnamon, a silver chain necklace glinting against his collarbone. His pack was professional grade, RI all the way, with a carabiner clipped to a faded Vols lanyard. Wait, Vols? You're from UT. I croaked, voice raw from disuse. He straightened, wiping rain from his face with a grin that lit something dim inside me. Guilty. Junior Environmental Science. Name's Riley. You look like you could use a hand, or at least a dry spot. He jerked his thumb toward a rocky overhang, a switchback up. Come on, before we turn into prune people. I hesitated, pride warring with exhaustion, but my legs betrayed me, wobbling like a newborn foal. Riley fell into step beside me, not too close, matching my pace without comment. The rain eased to a drizzle, mist curling around us like secrets. I'm Jordan, I said finally, when the silence stretched too thin. Senior. Pre-law. No kidding? We might have crossed paths in the SAC. He chuckled low and easy. What brings a city boy like you out here in a monsoon? Penance for bombing a mock trial. If only. Clearing my head, I muttered, dodging the truth. You. Same mostly. Plus extra credit for my forestry class. Mapping erosion patterns, thrilling stuff. His tone was light, but his eyes flicked to mine, holding just a beat too long. Awareness prickled my skin. That electric hum when two people who get it recognize each other without words. The rainbow pin on his pack strap winked in the gray light. We reached the overhang, a shallow cave carved by centuries of water, and ducked inside. It wasn't dry, drips plinked from the ceiling like a metronome, but it was shelter. Riley shrugged off his pack, pulling out a thermos. Hot cocoa? Don't laugh. It's spiked with bourbon. How special. I took it, the warmth seeping through the metal like a lifeline. The first sip burned sweet, chasing the chill from my bones. We sat cross-legged on the damp stone, knees almost brushing, and for the first time that day, the knot in my chest loosened a fraction. He didn't pry, just talked about the park's history, how the Cherokee called these peaks the place of the blue smoke, about a black bear he'd spotted last summer that stole his granola bar and his dignity. His laugh was infectious, rumbling like distant thunder, and I found myself leaning in, sharing bits I'd meant to keep locked. The Vols' undefeated streak in 22, my failed attempt at banjo in high school. As the rain tapered, he grew quieter, studying the vista below, endless ridges fading into haze. You know, he said softly, hiking's like life. You think you're climbing for the view, but really it's the falls that teach you. The slips, the dead ends. They make the summit mean something. I swallowed, the bourbon buzzing in my veins. Yeah? What's your fall look like, Riley? He turned, green eyes steady. Coming out to my folks back in Asheville. Dad's a logger, old school. Thought it'd end us. But he showed up at my dorm with a six-pack and said, Son, I didn't raise you to hide. Took time, but... Bridges. He paused, tilting his head. Yours. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. The apartment, the bed, Noah's face. Not the graphic horror but the gut punch of it. The man I love choosing escape over us. Riley listened, chin on his knee, no judgment, just nods that said I see you. When I finished, voice cracking, he reached out, hesitant then sure, squeezing my shoulder. His touch was callous from trail work, warm through my soaked shirt. That sucks, Jordan. Hardcore. But betrayal? It's his failure, not yours. You're the guy who hikes in a hurricane to feel again. That's strength, not safety. We hiked down together as the sun broke through, painting the leaves in gold. At the trailhead, he scrawled his number on a park map scrap. If you ever need a real reset, coffee not cocoa, hit me up. No strings. His smile was shy now, vulnerable, and as he drove off in a battered Jeep, I stood there, map in hand, realizing the lesson had already started. Sometimes the person who stops isn't a detour. They're the path. Back in Knoxville, the apartment loomed like a ghost town. I texted Mom a vague need a few days, crashed at a buddy's couch, and dove into classes like they were life rafts. But Riley lingered. A text here, saw a bear today, thought of you. A meme about bad exes there. We met for coffee at Cups on Tuesday. The steam from our lattes curling like the mountain mist. He was even better in daylight. Animated, quoting John Muir between sips, his knee brushing mine under the table and neither of us pulling away. It was easy with him, the kind of easy that sneaks up like dawn. We'd wander the Blount County Greenway after his lab, him pointing out invasive species like they were personal foes, me venting about torts and ethics exams. One evening, as fireflies blinked along the riverbank, he kissed me, soft, tentative, under the willows. It tasted like black coffee and wild mint, nothing like Noah's whiskey promises. No ruse, no leyer. Just us breathing each other in. Fall deepened, leaves turning the campus into a postcard of crimson and amber. Homecoming weekend arrived, Val's faithful packing Nayland with orange waves. I'd sold the tickets, but Riley dragged me to a watch party at the Pilot House, where the crowd's roar drowned my doubts. We snuck out midway, ending up on the Sunsphere, Knoxville's funky 80s relic, its golden ball glowing against the stars. Up there, city lights sprawling below like a promise, he wrapped his arms around me from behind. You know what I love about this view? He murmured into my hair. It's all connected. No one story ends at the edge. I turned, heart hammering. Riley, I'm still picking up pieces. I know. I'm not here to glue 'em. Just to walk beside if you'll let me. His eyes held mine, earnest, and in that moment, I saw the man he was. Not a rebound but a revelation. We kissed again, slower this time, the world narrowing to the press of his lips, the steady beat of his heart against mine. Word got around campus, whispers in the dining hall, a knowing wink from Ms. Rivera in counseling. Noah cornered me outside the law library one crisp November morning, eyes red-rimmed, looking smaller than I remembered. Jordan, please. I messed up. Bad. Therapy's helping, but without you. He trailed off, hands shoved in his pockets, rain from last night's storm still puddling the quad. I stood there, textbooks heavy in my arms, Riley's laugh echoing in my mind from breakfast that morning. Noah, it's not about blame anymore. It's about forward. The words felt foreign but true. He nodded, defeated, and walked away, shoulders slumped against the wind. It hurt, a dull echo but not the evisceration I'd feared. Healing, Ms. Rivera would say, plank by plank. Winter crept in with its chill, but Riley warmed it. We decorated his tiny apartment off Cumberland Avenue with thrift store lights and a Charlie Brown tree, baking gingerbread that tasted more like hockey pucks than holiday cheer. His family drove down from Asheville for New Year's. Mom with her quilted hugs, Dad clapping my back like I'd always been there. Heard you like the trails, he rumbled, handing me a laminated Smokies map. Boys been talking you up. Graduation came in a blur of mortarboards and pomp and circumstance. I walked the stage, diploma in hand, scanning the crowd for the one face that mattered. Riley front row, whooping like I just sunk a game winner. Noah was there too, in the back, clapping politely before slipping out. No drama, just closure. A humanistic nod to the boy who'd taught me how to love, even if he couldn't stay. But life, like trails, has switchbacks. Law school acceptances rolled in, mine for Vanderbilt in Nashville, Riley's grad program at Duke in Durham. 2 hours apart, Not worlds, but enough to twist the knife of doubt. Long distance. I joked over tacos at Torchy's, but my voice cracked. He set down his fork, serious. Or we fight for it. Weekends calls the works. I've got a Jeep, remember? His hand covered mine, thumb tracing circles. Jordan, you're not a lesson. You're the view. We made it work that first semester, me buried in casebooks, him in soil samples. Fall breaks in the mountains where we'd revisit Alum Cave, tracing our steps like a vow. But doubt festered, fed by late nights and missed calls. Then the bomb. A package arrived at my Vanderbilt dorm, no return address. Inside, photos, grainy but unmistakable. Me and Riley kissing on the sunsphere, time-stamped from homecoming. Tucked in. A note in Noah's scrawl. Thought you should know he's playing you. Saw him with some guy last week. Karma, J. My world tilted. I drove to Durham that night, rain lashing the windshield like accusations, arriving at Riley's off-campus house soaked and shaking. He opened the door in sweats, confusion melting to concern. Jordan? What's? The photos hit the floor like shrapnel. Is it true? I demanded, voice of strangers. Noah said. His face drained of color. Noah? God, no. Jordan, listen. He pulled me inside, shutting out the storm, and explained. The guy was his thesis advisor, a married prof celebrating a grant over beers. Nothing more. But the seed was planted, watered by my own fears, the echo of too safe, the terror of another fall. We argued for hours, words like boulders tumbling. Trust, timing, the fragility of us. I can't be your rebound, he said finally, voice breaking, eyes glistening. And I won't be the villain in your story. I'm not. But I was or had been, and that truth hung between us like fog. I left at dawn, the drive back a blur of regret. Noah's note burning a hole in my glove box. Spring thawed the mountains, but not me. I threw myself into Vanderbilt, moot court victories, clerkships that promise partnership tracks. Riley's text faded to silence, a mutual ghosting born of self-preservation. Ms. Rivera via Zoom from Knoxville urged grace. Betrayal's a teacher, but so is forgiveness, starting with yourself. Summer brought me home to Maryville, where the Smokies called like an old friend. I hiked alone, Alum Cave's familiarity a balm and a bruise. At the overhang I sat with Whitman's words. I am large, I contain multitudes. And there in the quiet clarity struck. Not a thunderclap, but a gentle unfolding. I'd run to the trail for escape but stayed for the lesson. Love isn't possession. It's the courage to let go, to choose again. I drove to Asheville unannounced, Riley's address memorized from holiday cards. He answered the door mid-laugh, flour on his cheeks, baking with his sister in the kitchen behind. Our eyes met and time folded. The stranger in the rain, the kiss under stars, the ache of almost. Jordan, he breathed, stepping onto the porch. The air hummed with cicadas, heavy with unsaid things. I was wrong, I said simply, handing him the crumpled park map from that first day. His number still smudged but legible. About us. About safe. You weren't a lesson, you are one. The best kind. He searched my face, then pulled me into a hug, flour dusting my shirt like fresh snow. Took you long enough, Hale. We rebuilt plank by plank. Not perfect. Distance still nipped at heels, doubts whispered in quiet hours but real. Rooted. That fall I transferred credits for a joint program, splitting time between Nashville and Durham. Noah? He reached out once, an apology email. I was lost. Hope you're found. I replied with grace, we both are. Take care. Now 2 years on, we're in a cabin off the Blue Ridge Parkway. Riley's dream job with the Park Service, me arguing cases for queer rights in Asheville courts. We hike every weekend, not to clear heads but to celebrate them. The multitudes, the bridges, the views that stretch forever. Life's no fairy tale, no tidy bows on pain. But in the slant of evening light through the trees, with Riley's hand in mine, I know the truth Dad whispered on those boyhood trails. The summit's sweeter for the storms. And damn if it isn't worth every step. The cabin smelled of pine sap and fresh coffee, the kind that brews strong enough to wake the dead, or at least a hungover law student after a Vols tailgate. Riley stirred beside me, his curls a wild halo against the flannel pillowcase, one arm slung possessively over my waist. Sunlight slanted through the blinds, gilding his freckles, and for a heartbeat, I just watched him breathe, steady, untroubled, the rhythm syncing with the distant rush of a creek. 2 years in, and mornings like this still felt like grace. A gift I didn't earn but thanked the stars for anyway. Staring's creepy. Hail, he mumbled, eyes cracking open with a smirk. Even for a lawyer. Guilty as charged. I leaned in, pressing a kiss to his temple, tasting salt and sleep. But can you blame me? You've got that whole lumberjack poet vibe going. He groaned, rolling to pin me playfully. His weight a welcome anchor. Flattery'll get you breakfast. Pancakes? Or are we doing the full southern biscuits and gravy? We opted for the latter, him at the stove in nothing but boxers and an apron that read "Kiss the Cook," a gag gift from his sister, Ellie. Me chopping onions for gravy with all the finesse of a first-year med student. The radio crackled with classic country, Johnny Cash crooning about walking the line, and we danced around the kitchen island, hips bumping to the beat. It was domestic, unremarkable, the stuff of 1,000 Instagram couples. But for me it was revolution, proof that after the rain you could build something sturdy from the mud. Work pulled us in opposite directions that week. Riley's days blurred into field surveys, tracking elk migration patterns for the National Park Service, his truck kicking up gravel on backroads that hugged the North Carolina-Tennessee line. He'd come home dusty, eyes alight with stories, a bobcat's paw print in the loam, a hidden waterfall that sang like an angel. "You gotta see this one, Jay," he'd say, sketches from his notebook spilling across the dining table. "It's like the mountains keeping secrets just for us." I'd nod, half listening over case files, but his passion was contagious, a reminder that law, for all its sharp edges, was my way of carving justice from chaos. My caseload at the Asheville firm focused on family law with a queer twist. Custody battles where parents weaponized identity, adoption stalled by bigots in black robes. Last month, I'd won a landmark ruling for a lesbian couple from Boone. Their toddler's photo now framed on my desk. "You're changing the world one gavel at a time," Riley had toasted that night, clinking his beer to my bourbon. But victories cast long shadows. Late one evening, as October fog rolled in like a shroud, I got the call. "Caller ID, Mom." Her voice was tight, edged with that Maryville steel she'd honed raising 3 boys solo after Dad's passing. "Jordan? Honey, it's Noah. He's in the hospital. Knoxville General. Overdose." The world narrowed to a pinprick. Noah, my Noah, the ghost I'd buried under new foundations. "What? How?" "His mama called me this mornin'. Found him in his apartment. Pills. They pumped his stomach, but he's rough. A skin for you." I sank onto the porch steps, the wood creaking under me like old bones. Riley found me there, phone limp in my lap, and knelt without a word, hands framing my face. "Talk to me." The story spilled. Noah's spiral post-breakup, job loss at the bank, rumors of bad company. I'd heard whispers through mutual friends, dismissed them as karma's echo. But this was a scream in the silence. "You don't owe him anything," Riley said gently, but his eyes held no judgment, just the quiet strength I'd fallen for. "But if you need to go, I'm here. Drive safe." I left at dawn, the 2-hour haul to Knoxville a gauntlet of memories. Billboards for Dollywood, exits for Gatlinburg where we'd honeymooned in our dreams. The hospital loomed sterile and squat, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets. Noah's room was dim, monitors beeping a mechanical lullaby. He looked small in the bed, tubes snaking from his arm, skin sallow under the pallor of regret. "Jordan." His whisper was ragged, eyes fluttering open. "You came." I pulled up a chair, the vinyl cold against my jeans. "Yeah. Heard you needed a friend." A ghost of a smile. "Always did with you." He coughed, wincing, and the dam broke, apologies tumbling like loose scree. The affair, the notes, the photos he'd leaked out of spite. "I was drowning, Jay, thought hurting you would. I don't know. Make it even." But it just sank me deeper. I listened, the weight of it pressing like humidity before a storm. Anger flickered, hot, justified, but beneath it, pity bloomed. Noah, the boy who'd strummed guitars and whispered forever, reduced to this. A man undone by his own hands. "Why me?" I asked, finally, voice steady. "After everything. Because you're the good one. The one who forgives." Tears tracked his cheeks. "I don't deserve it, but thank you." We talked till visiting hours ended, not rehashing us but forward, rehab programs, a therapist in Chattanooga, the AA meetings his folks swore by. As I left, he gripped my hand, weak but fervent. Tell Riley. He's lucky. Back home, Riley waited with takeout from 12 Bones, smoked ribs that fell off the bone, and no questions, just a beer pressed into my palm. We ate on the living room floor, Blue Ridge shadows lengthening through the window, and when I recounted it all, he nodded, chewing thoughtfully. Forgiveness isn't absolution, he said, wiping sauce from his chin. It's freedom. For both of you. That night, tangled in sheets that smelled of him, earth and citrus, we made love slow and sure, bodies mapping the familiar terrain of trust. No rules, no proofs. Just presence, the humanistic heart of us. Flawed, fierce, full. November brought Thanksgiving, a raucous affair at Riley's folks in Asheville. The house was a timber frame haven, walls lined with photos of Riley as a gap-toothed kid in scout uniforms, his dad, Big Tom, with hands like hams, manning the turkey deep fryer in the yard. Ellie, his sister, a firecracker barista with tattoos of ferns up her arms, roped me into pie duty, her laughter cutting through the flower clouds. So you're the one who tamed my wild brother? Spill, trail mix and good looks. Something like that. I grinned, crimping crust. Mom arrived from Maryville with her famous cornbread, hugging Tom like a long-lost uncle, and for the first time since Dad, the table felt whole. Mismatched chairs, stories overlapping like quilt patches. Toasts circled, to health, to harvest, to the hikes that led us here. Riley's foot nudged mine under the oak slab, a secret Morse code. I love you. Simple words, but they landed like manna. Winter holidays blurred into a frenzy. Christmas lights strung along the parkway. New Year's in Nashville with Vanderbilt pals toasting my first big win. A pro bono case for a trans teen's name change. But January hit hard. A curveball from the mountains themselves. Riley's team got called to a wildfire response. The Table Rock blaze, flames chewing through Pisgah National Forest like a beast unchained. He was gone 2 weeks, coordinating evacuations from a command tent, voice crackling over spotty cell service. Miss you, but this. 'S why I do it. Saving what's wild. I paced our cabin, news alerts pinging like heartbeats. Acres lost, a firefighter injured but stable. Sleepless nights, I'd hike the local trails alone. Boots crunching frost-laced leaves, whispering prayers to the wind. Bring him back safe. He returned singed at the edges, smoke in his hair, exhaustion carving hollows under his eyes, but whole. We collapsed into each other on the porch swing, stars wheeling overhead, and he traced the scar on my knuckle from a childhood bike crash. You know, he murmured. Fires clear the deadwood, make room for new growth. I kissed his palm. Poetic. But next time, take me with you. Deal. Partners in crime and combustion. Spring unfurled green and tentative, dogwoods blooming like confetti along the Blue Ridge. My firm offered a promotion, senior associate, more travel, cases rippling to Atlanta. Riley's research grant extended, tying him to Duke Summers. Logistics loomed, but we navigated with the ease of trail veterans. Shared calendars, surprise visits, the unshakable us. Then the letter arrived, crisp envelope from Knoxville General, forwarded from Moms. Noah, 6 months sober, starting a support group for queer youth. If you're open, I'd like to share your story. Anonymously. Show him forgiveness is possible. I showed Riley over coffee at the French Broad Chocolate Lounge, steam rising like question marks. He read, brow furrowed, then slid it back. Your call, Jay. But if it helps one kid, that's the bridge you build. I wrote back yes, and in May drove to Knoxville for the first meeting. A community center basement, folding chairs in a circle, faces young and wary. Noah facilitated, voice steady, eyes meeting mine with quiet thanks. I shared. Not the raw wound but the scar. How betrayal broke me but Riley mended, how mountains teach resilience. Questions flowed, tears too, and as we closed with hands linked, I felt Dad's presence, steady approving. Driving home, windows down, Dylan on the stereo wailing about blowing in the wind, I called Riley. It was good. Healing, you know. Proud of you, he said, wind in his voice too, out mapping vernal pools. Dinner when I get back? That Italian place with the tiramisu that makes you moan. Only if you promise no bear stories. No promises. Summer solstice found us on Klingman's Dome, highest point in the Smokies, fog burning off to reveal a sea of undulating green. Riley proposed there, not on bended knee with a ring, but with a carved wooden box containing 2 silver bands, etched with trail mile markers. 5.5 The spot we'd met. Not today, not tomorrow, he said, slipping one on my finger, his eyes misting. But when the path feels right. You in. I pulled him close, the dome's tower humming with tourists below. All the way. Betrayals fade but lessons endure. Noah thrives now, a counselor in Chattanooga. His wedding to a kind-eyed teacher announced in a group text chain. We nod hellos at Vols games, civil as exes should be. Mom's dating a widower from church, soft-spoken with dad's laugh. And Ellie's expecting us uncles to be already spoiling with tiny Vols onesies. As for us? Riley and I hike into autumn's yet to come, packs light, hearts heavy with hope. The trail twists, sure storms brew, roots trip, but with his hand in mine I remember. Life's not the summit. It's the stopping, the sharing, the loving that turns strangers into stories. And damn, what a story ours is. The Blue Ridge Parkway in late September is a watercolor dream. Aspens aflame in gold, hawks wheeling lazy circles against skies so blue they bruise your soul. Riley and I had claimed a stretch for ourselves, a 10-mile out and back from Graveyard Fields to Skinny Dip Falls. His idea of a pre-wedding warm-up. No ceremony dates set yet, just the bands on our fingers like talismans, winking in the dappled light. My caseload had eased for fall break, a rare gift from the firm, and we'd loaded the Jeep with sandwiches from the Smoky Mountain Diner, a cooler of sweet tea, and that unshakable rhythm we'd honed like a well-worn boot tread. Race you to the Cascade? Riley called over his shoulder, already loping ahead, his pack bouncing with that boyish energy that still made my chest ache in the best way. You're on, but losers on dish duty for a month, I shouted back, lungs filling with the crisp bite of elevation. The trail dipped through rhododendron thickets, roots gnawing at ankles like playful pups, and soon the falls roared ahead. A silver veil tumbling over moss-slick rocks into a pool that begged for bare feet. I beat him by a hair, collapsing dramatically on a boulder, feigning exhaustion. Mercy, environmentalist. Your cardio's no match for lawyer legs. He tackled me laughing, the impact softened by ferns, our breaths mingling in the spray's mist. Cheater. You took the shortcut. His kiss was cool from the air, warm from him, and we lingered there, world reduced to water song and the press of his body, solid shore home. Picnic unpacked, we ate turkey clubs with the falls as our tablecloth, trading stories like currency. His, a new grant for reforestation post-wildfire, planting saplings in scorched earth. Mine, a deposition where I'd grilled a deadbeat dad into signing over custody, the mom's grateful tears better than any paycheck. You're a force, Jordan Hale, he said, popping a grape between my lips. The world's luckier for it. Luck. The word hung, light as the humidity lifting. We'd been lucky, evading the big breaks that shatter lesser loves. No job relocations across coasts, no family dramas erupting into disownments. But luck's a fickle trail guide. It veers without warning. October brought the first frost, and with it, a letter from Vanderbilt, an alumni newsletter, innocuous until I flipped to the back. Class notes. Nohander Whitcomb, JD 24, joins prestigious Nashville firm specializing in corporate mergers. Congratulations to Noah and his partner Michael Reyes on their recent engagement. I stared at the photo. Noah beaming in a tux, arm around a sharp-featured man with kind eyes, champagne flutes raised. Michael, the Nashville study buddy, the ghost who'd haunted our end. My stomach twisted, not with jealousy, God no, but a raw, unexpected grief. For the what-ifs, the road not taken, the boy I'd loved who now mirrored my happiness from afar. Riley found me on the cabin deck that evening. Newsletter crumpled in my lap, bourbon untouched beside me. The parkway stretched below, headlights threading like fireflies in the dusk. He settled close, no preamble, just his shoulder against mine. Saw it, he said quietly. In the mail pile. I nodded, throat tight. It's stupid. I'm happy for him. Really. But it stings. Like seeing your old self all shiny and sorted. Not stupid. His fingers laced with mine, thumb stroking the band. It's human. Betrayal leaves echoes, Jay. Doesn't mean the song's changed. We talked till stars pricked the velvet sky. About closure's sharp edges. About how forgiveness isn't erasure but evolution. He shared his own scar. A high school ex who'd outed him to the football team, turning locker room banter to barbs. Took years to trust again, he admitted, voice low. But you? You make it easy. That vulnerability cracked me open, and I pulled him inside, the fire crackling as we shed layers, literal and not. Lovemaking by hearthlight, slow and reverent, bodies whispering affirmations. Still here, still yours. Afterward, curled against him, embers glowing like distant campfires, I felt the echo fade. Not gone but gentled like a river smoothed over time. November's chill deepened, but so did our plans. Ellie's baby shower in Asheville. A co-ed bash at the Biltmore Estates Gardens. Pumpkins carved with tiny faces, cider steaming in mugs. Mom arrived with her beau, Harlan. A gentle giant with a woodworking shop and stories of Vietnam that didn't scar but shaped. He and Tom bonded over fly fishing, rods whipping the air like shared secrets, while Ellie, belly round as a harvest moon, pulled me aside. Spill, brother-in-law-to-be, she teased, linking arms. When's the big day? I've got a dress with fringe that screams mountain gay chic. I laughed, but the question landed soft. Soon. Thinking spring, small trailside. Just family, the falls as witness. Her eyes misted. Perfect. Riley's mush already. Practically has the vows drafted in his field journal. The shower devolved into chaos. Harlan's dad jokes bombing gloriously. Tom's turkey chili sparking a spice off. Riley and me tag-teaming diaper-changing demos with all the grace of rookies. As dusk fell, fairy lights twinkling in the arbor, Ellie raised a toast. To family, the ones we're born into and the ones we hike to find. Aches and all it fit. Winter solstice loomed, but first, Knoxville for the Vols matchup against Alabama. Riley's Christmas gift, box seats at Neyland, the stadium a cauldron of orange and crimson. We tailgate with old UT crew, bonfires crackling, grills smoking brisket that perfumed the lot. Ms. Rivera spotted us from her tailgate, waving us over with hugs and, "Look at you two, trail magic made manifest." The game was a nail-biter. Vols down by 10 at half, crowds roar a living thing. That's when Noah appeared, weaving through the throng with Michael in tow. Clean-shaven, sober-eyed, he clapped Riley on the back first. Heard about the proposal. Congrats, man. Jordan deserves the best. Riley grinned, easy. Appreciate it. You two caught the kickoff. Small talk flowed. Firm gossip, Michael's nonprofit for at-risk youth. No awkwardness, just the humanistic hum of lives diverged but not divided. As the Vols rallied in the fourth, us screaming ourselves hoarse, I caught Noah's eye across the aisle. He mouthed thanks and I nodded, bridge intact, traffic light. New Year's we rang in low-key. Cabin aglow with beeswax candles, a playlist of Springsteen and Calterwall, champagne fizzing and thrift store flutes. Riley pulled me to dance in the living room, bare feet on rag rugs, his cheek against mine. Resolutions, he murmured. More hikes. Less doubt. I spun him out, pulling him back. Marry you yesterday. But since that's off the table, forever starts now. January thawed into a mild spell, perfect for our first joint project. Volunteering with the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. Weekends spent clearing brush near Hot Springs, North Carolina. Loppers in hand, sweat beading despite the chill. Riley schooling me on native flora. See this trillium? State flower. Tough as nails, blooms post-frost. Like us, I quipped, hacking at kudzu like it owed me money. He paused, dirt-streaked and grinning. Damn right. But spring's promise carried undercurrents. My firm dangled a partnership track, prestige, but it meant more hours, schmoozing in Charlotte boardrooms. Riley's grant renewal hinged on a conference in D.C., weeks away from the Parkway's embrace. We tabled it over Easter brunch at his folks, ham glazed with pineapple, deviled eggs, deviled indeed. Life's a series of forks, Tom rumbled, passing the rolls. Choose the one that keeps you pointed true. Ellie, newly mom to little Juniper. A squirmy bundle with Riley's curls, coot agreement. And backup plans. Always. Nods around the table, Harlan's hand on Mom's knee, a quiet anchor. Humanistic wisdom served family style. May bloomed riotous, dogwoods shedding petals like confetti. We set the date. June 21st, Solstice Eve, A clearing off the mountains to sea trail. Invitees 30 souls, family, UT alums, park service pals. Vows handwritten on birch bark. Officiant a Unitarian minister who'd married Riley's aunt. Rings exchanged under a canopy of laurel, the falls are chorus. But climax brews in calm airs. 2 weeks out, Riley's phone buzzed mid-packing, dispatch tone urgent. A nor'easter had swelled rivers, flash floods threatening Damascus, Virginia. I gotta go, he said, already zipping boots. Cruise short. Could save homes. Heart in throat, I nodded. Go. Be safe. He kissed me fierce, pack slung. Back for the rehearsal. Promise. The wait was agony. News feeds flashing rescues. Choppers whirring over churning waters. Mom called daily, Harlan's calm voice a tether. Boy's got mountain blood. He'll be fine. Ellie texted Juniper pics, distractions wrapped in giggles. Day 3 the call. Not Riley's number. Dispatch chief, voice grave. He's okay, minor sprain, but the team's pulling back. Floods receding. Relief buckled me, tears hot on the cabin floor. When he limped home at dusk, bruised but beaming, I met him at the door. No words, just embrace, his heartbeat thunder in my ear. Almost missed the big show, he joked, wincing as I helped him to the couch. Would've postponed. You're the show, idiot. Rehearsal dinner under stars, fireflies are lanterns. Noah and Michael came, toasts laced with laughter. Vows practiced by the creek, our voices mingling with peepers. Solstice dawned golden. The clearing shimmered, arch of woven vines, wildflowers in mason jars. Guests arrived in waves. Mom tearful in lavender, Tom in a boilo tie, Ms. Rivera with a Whitman anthology as gift. Ellie nursed Juniper in the shade, Harlan snapping candids. Riley waited at the arch, barefoot in linen. Eyes locked on mine as I walked the pedal path. Mom on arm, her squeeze saying proud. The minister's words washed over. Love as trail, enduring, exploratory. Our vows, mine of bridges rebuilt, his of views shared. Rings slipped on, kisses sealed soft, then deepening, cheers erupting like dawn. Betrayals echo? Distant thunder long past. The storm that birthed us now nourished, rain to root. As we danced that night, bare feet in grass, mountains cradling our joy, I knew the lesson entire. Life's hikes demand heart, for the falls, the forks, the forever stops. And with Riley, every step sang home. The morning after the wedding dawned like a revelation. Mist veiling the parkway in soft whites. Birdsong piercing the hush as if the world itself were toasting our union. Riley and I woke in a rented A-frame near Linville Falls. Sheets tangled around us like vines. His head on my chest, breath feathering my skin. No rush to rise, honeymoon stretched lazy before us. A week of blue sky wandering, from the gorge's emerald depths to blowing rocks, windswept cliffs. But first, coffee on the deck. Mug steaming, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my knee. Mr. Hale Thompson, he murmured, testing the hyphen we'd chosen. Mine for legacy, his for the wild. Sounds official. Like we could sue a bear for trespassing. I chuckled, nuzzling his temple. Or defend the forest in court. Partners in every sense. Breakfast was biscuits from a roadside stand. Flaky, butter-drenched, eaten picnic-style by the fall's roar. We hiked the Irwin's View Trail, hands linked, pausing to name clouds. That one's a Vol mascot, this a grumpy owl. Laughter echoed off stone, free and full. The weight of yesterday's sloughed like old bark. But honeymoons, like trails, have subtle inclines. Day 3 in Boone at a craft brewery, my phone buzzed, firm partner voice clipped. Jordan, emergency hearing. Client's ex filed for emergency custody. Claims instability post-wedding. Need you back tomorrow. The pint glass paused midway to my lips, foam cresting like a wave about to crash. Riley's brow furrowed across the scarred oak table. Nashville? Already. Charlotte actually closer. But yeah, 2 days tops. Guilt twisted, sharp as switchback gravel. I'm sorry. This. Us. He reached, palm cupping my jaw. Go. Kick ass. I'll hold the fort. Map some fungi or whatever. His grin was lopsided, but eyes held the truth. Marriage's first test, logistics nipping at heels. I drove south that evening, parkway's curves a blur of regret. Radio tuned to NPR's All Things Considered for distraction. Stories of climate accords, queer icons in Congress. The hearing was a grinder. Depositions till midnight. me arguing precedents like a fencer, blade sharp. We won, custody retained, client's sobs of thanks echoing in the marble hall, but victory tasted ashen without Riley's whoop in my ear. He met me halfway, in Winston-Salem at a no-tell motel off I-40, our reunion a tangle of limbs and misuse under threadbare sheets. Fungi were boring, he confessed, tracing my collarbone. You're my wild. Back home the cabin welcomed with its familiar creaks. Fireplace mantled with our vows bark, kitchen stocked by Ellie. Work normalized. My docket swelling with appeals, Riley's lab buzzing with grad students dissecting soil cores. We carved rituals, Tuesday tacos from the truck on Lexington Avenue, Sunday sunsets from the deck with craft IPAs and the Atlantic read aloud. Fall foliage peaked, a riot of russet and sienna, and we hosted Thanksgiving redux. Mom and Harlan driving up with pecan pie, Tom smoking ribs on the grill, Ellie and Juniper arriving in a swirl of baby giggles. The table groaned under fixings, green beans almondine, Harlan's cornbread that rivaled Mom's, and toasts flowed like the creek out back. To roots, Tom raised his glass, eyes on Riley and me. The kind that weather wins. Juniper babbled agreement, smashing peas with chubby fists, and laughter bubbled warm as cider. December brought snow. First flakes dusting the parkway like powdered sugar, turning hikes to crunch underfoot. Riley's holiday gift. A custom knife from Harlan's shop, handle of walnut inlaid with trail motifs. Mine. A leather-bound journal for his sketches, pages thick as resolve. Christmas Eve we drove to Maryville for Mom's tradition. Luminaria lining the drive, candles and bags flickering like stars fallen to earth. Dad's absence lingered, a soft hollow, but Harlan filled it gentle, telling tales of his woodshop, carving Juniper a rattle that cooed like a dove. We sang carols off-key, Mom's alto harmonizing with Riley's baritone, and as midnight mass bells tolled from the steeple down the road, I squeezed his hand under the pew. This is family. New Year dawned crisp, resolutions whispered over black-eyed peas. More presents, less hustle. But January's thaw unearthed old ground. A package arrived, brown paper, postmarked Chattanooga. Inside, a leather scrapbook, Noah's handwriting on the card. For your shelf of stories. Grateful for the chapter. Pages chronicled his year. Sobriety milestones, Michael's proposal under Chattanooga's Walnut Street Bridge, their adoption of a rescue pup named Scout. Tucked in the back, a faded photo from our bonfire meet cute, me starry-eyed, him guitar strumming. We were kids playing it forever. You taught me real. I shared it with Riley by the fire, flames dancing shadows on the walls. He flipped slow, nodding at the growth. Human as hell. Proud of him, of you for opening this. Echoes again but fainter like wind through distant pines. Spring green tentative then bold trillium nodding along our favorite loops. Ellie's second pregnancy announced over brunch, Juniper toddling between legs, and wedding photos arrived. Us mid-kiss, fall's blurring backdrop captured eternal. But climax simmers. May's conference in D.C. loomed for me. ABA panel on queer family law, a career plum. Riley's team-eyed a cross-state survey, overlapping dates. 2 weeks apart? He mused over packing, socks balled in his duffel. Worse than the flood. I joked, but stomach nodded. We promised calls, care packages, his beef jerky and trail mix, mine legal pads and his favorite pen. Airports and interstates swallowed us, days blurring to video chats. Him mud-caked in mud boots, me suited in hotel lobbies. Then the storm broke, not weather but word. Halfway through my panel phone vibrated. Ms. Rivera. Call me. It's Noah. Heart stutter, I ducked to the hall, her voice steady but soft. He's stable but...
Car accident.
Drunk driver. Michael's with him, broken ribs, concussion. Asking for you again. DC dissolved. I caught the first flight to Nashville, rental car eating miles to Chattanooga. Hospital corridors smelled of antiseptic and fear. Michael in the waiting room. Eyes hollow, hand clutching a coffee gone cold. He came through surgery, he said standing. Whispered your name in recovery. Said, tell Jordan it's not over till it's over. I nodded, throat thick, and entered the room. Noah, bandaged and pale, managed a thumbs up. Hero complex intact, huh? Shut up. I sat gripping the rail. What happened? T-boned at an intersection. Idiot ran the light. He winced, shifting. But I'm here. Michael's my rock now, you get that? We talked fragments. His group's expansion, a podcast on recovery he'd guested on. You and Riley. That's the goal. Steady through the squalls. Michael joined, the three of us, a tableau of time's mercy. Exes turned allies, betrayals, ashes fertilizing friendship. Back on the parkway by week's end, Riley waited with soup from the local deli. No questions, just arms open. Heard. Glad you're okay, all of you. That night, stars carpeted the sky. We hiked to our overlook, blankets bundled. Life's plot twists, he said, head on my shoulder. But the arc bends human toward light. Summer solstice circled anniversary eve. We renewed at the falls. No crowd, just us, water's vow. Juniper splashed nearby. Ellie snapping pics. Families merged in laughter. Betrayals? Lessons etched, not erased. Noah walked at Juniper's first birthday, cane clicking rhythm. We all hiked now, packs shared, stories swapped. The trail teaches. Falls forge, forks free. With Riley, every dawn's a summit. Every step a love letter to the man who stopped and stayed. Autumn's palette deepened that year. Leaves carpeting the parkway in a mosaic of burnished copper and flame, as if the mountains themselves were exhaling a final, fervent breath before winter's hush. Riley and I marked our second anniversary with a ritual hike. Back to Alum Cave, the cradle of us, packs laden not with bourbon-spiked cocoa but artisanal cheeses from Asheville's markets and a bottle of Cabernet from a Yadkin Valley vineyard. The trail felt shorter now. Roots familiar as old friends. The overhang our private chapel where we'd first traded truths. 2 years, he said, uncorking the wine with a pocket tool. Glasses clinking in the dappled shade. Feels like yesterday's rain. Or tomorrow's storm. I leaned against him, the stone cool at our backs. Mist from recent showers beating on his lashes. Here's to weathering. Sips shared, stories retold. Not the raw wounds but the weavings. How that downpour had washed in clarity. How his hand on my shoulder had anchored more than balance. Below, the Smokies rolled endless, a testament to endurance. Peaks scarred by fire and flood, yet blooming defiant. Back home, the cabin thrummed with seasonal pulse. Pumpkins on the stoop, chili simmering for game nights with the crew. Work hummed steady. My firm launching a pro bono clinic for mountain queer families. Riley's reforestation plots sprouting like promises. Life's cadence unhurried, profound. But narrative's arc, and ours crested toward winter's test. November brought news from Mom. Harlan's diagnosis, prostate cancer, early stage but aggressive. He's tough, she said over the line, voice steady as Maryville oak. But, come home for Thanksgiving? We need the full table. We loaded the Jeep with sides, Riley's cornbread stuffing laced with sausage and sage, and drove west, Parkway giving way to I-40 straights. Maryville welcomed with its clabbered charm, Mom's Victorian aglow with strung lights, Harlan on the porch swing despite the chill, pipe smoke curling like thoughts unspoken. Boys, he greeted, rising slow, embrace firm. Heard you been tammin' those trails again. Save some for an old dog. Inside, the kitchen bustled. Mom basting turkey, Ellie piping frosting on pies, Juniper finger painting with cranberry sauce. Tom arrived with ribs as backup, Tom's wife Clara with her legendary mac and cheese. Laughter layered over the simmer, but undercurrents ran deep, Harlan's plate lighter, Mom's smiles tighter. Dinner unfolded grace-filled. Toasts to health's horizon, Harlan's tale of carving his first spoon at 10, eyes twinkling defiant. Riley squeezed my knee under the lace cloth. A silent we got this. Post-feast, menfolk to the garage, Harlan's sanctuary of sawdust and shavings. He showed Riley his lathe, hands guiding the spin. Woods like us, grain hidden till you turn it right. To me a quiet aside. Your dad's bench is waitin' in the shed. Finish that rocking horse for the wee one. Legacy's in the make, son. Tears pricked but I nodded, tools heavy with import. December deepened the vigil. Chemo sessions in Knoxville. Harlan's frame thinning but spirit unbowed. We alternated drives, Riley and I tag-teaming support. Him with audiobooks of Hatchet for distraction, me with legal pads for estate whispers Mom couldn't voice. Christmas was hushed. Luminaria fewer but brighter. Gifts practical, warm socks, a heated blanket. Harlan's to me. A whittled trail sign engraved Hale Thompson. Keep climbing. New Year's we rang soft champagne at midnight on Mom's porch. Fireworks popping distant over the holler. To chapters closing gentle, Riley toasted, arm around Harlan's shoulders. January snows blanketed heavy, but so did hope, scan's clear remissions whisper. Spring coaxed it forth. Crocuses pushing soil, Harlan back at the lathe, shavings flying free. Yet conflict stirs. April's tax season unearthed a firm merger. My role intact but relocation floated. Raleigh for synergy. Bigger cases, bigger impact. The partner pitched over lunch at the Admiral. Riley's grant renewal tied him to Asheville Labs. Raleigh's 3 hours. I reasoned that night, maps spread on the quilt. Commutes doable. His eyes shadowed. Doable's not thriving. Roots here, your clinic's blooming, my plots too. Words escalated. Love laced with logistics, fears of drift. I'm not Noah, he said, voice cracking. But I won't be the anchor that sinks us. Nor I the sail that leaves. I pulled him close, maps crumpling. We reroute. Together. Maize blooms mocked our muddle. Azaleas rioting pink, trails mudslick from thaws. Ellie mediated over coffee at her cafe. Forks again? Choose the merge, not the split. Noah texted, uncanny timing. Heard about the job. Been there, career versus heart. Chose both. You can too. We hiked to clear it. Graveyard fields, waterfalls, thundering catharsis. Midway, Riley halted, pack dropped. Jordan, wait. What if we go? Raleigh's got parks, rivers. Plant new roots. Stunned, I searched his face. Green eyes steady, freckles sun-kissed. You'd uproot? For me. For us. Love's the transplant that takes. Tears blurred the spray. God, I love you. Kisses sealed it, salt and mist, vows renewed impromptu. June solstice we moved. Cabin sublet. Raleigh townhouse with a yard for plots. Firms excited. Clinic expands, my docket gleams. Riley joins NC State's extension program. Surveys sprawling. But humanism hums in pauses. Harlan's full recovery celebrated with a Maryville hoedown. Fiddles wailing. Harlan dancing with mom under strung bulbs. Noah and Michael visit. Scout the pup chasing fireflies. Stories swapping like kindling. Juniper's 3rd birthday. Chaos of cake and chase. Us uncles corralling with goofy hats. Ellie's 3rd on the way. A boy they hoped with Tom's name. Winter finds us settled. Raleigh's oaks shedding gold. Holiday lights twinkling in the Neuse River Greenway. We hike Umstead Park, trails tamed but true, packs light with Juniper's snacks. Betrayal's scar? Faint as old ink, inked over with grace. The lesson, stops teach but strides seal. Riley's hand in mine, always the path. And so we walk, into dawns uncharted, hearts full, mountains in our blood. The end? Just another overlook, view vast and kind.